is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission Podcast. This is your boy Dave signing on for this lovely April evening. Of course, follow us at the socials at Toronto Third on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast from. That's including Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, and our friends over at Podbean. Got the usual suspects in the building tonight, aka the right hand of the king, and of course, we have now who I'm officially dubbing as the left hand of the king. We got Avry and Troy in the building. Start off with Avry. What's going on in Edmonton? Is there any snow left on the ground? That's one thing we have to figure out right now.
No, the snow is finally going away. The snow's getting out of here. So, and soon enough, it'll be a hot Avry summer.
I'm dead. Hot Avry summer. Yo, what kind of foolishness is this? Are we already starting with this?
Half man, half roti this week. Of course he's starting with it.
Yo, my man's lineup out here is like, it's not lining up properly, dog. Like, big ears, big glasses, big forehead, man. Yo, that's all it is at this point. This is too much. This is way too much. Real talk though, how you doing?
No, I'm good. 3:44 a.m. I'm good.
What do you call 3:44 a.m.? This guy, like honestly, how is it that 4:44 is talking to me right now? Like, what is this? 4:44 a.m. in the morning. Troy, how's it going in your end?
I am exhausted. Yeah, I did another fun day at work where we spent more time catching up than anything else, but such is the life at my place of employment. Today is my sister's 36th birthday. Happy birthday, nerdling. Even though you don't listen to this, probably should. But happy birthday anyway.
Happy birthday to the happy Strong to the sibling then.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah, another looking at my calendar right now. Oh boy, yeah, this is another fun-filled week. Every day this week. But hey, that's money. Other than that, just trying to watch as much hockey as possible. As we've mentioned, too? Oh yes, definitely wrestling. Friday Night Smack, that was interesting, but that's a different topic for a different podcast. So
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, just trying to watch as much hockey as possible. Just trying to keep my eye on the PWHL because their season is drawing to a close soon as well. So we'll see who lands in what spots. As we've been mentioning all season long, the race for the Atlantic Division title will almost certainly come down to the last couple of games of the season. It'll go right down to the wire because now the Ottawa Senators are in the mix. I mean, I don't think they have enough points or games left in points to catch Toronto, but they could still finish second and screw us, and we still end up playing Florida in the first round. So we'll see how that pans out.
Like that's going to be a very interesting situation, and actually, we're going to talk about that during this episode. And thank you for also bringing up the fact that we have to discuss our lovely friends over at Coca-Cola Coliseum and the Scepters. Of course, we can't really talk about the Marlies too much because considering their season's pretty much done, and we're not sure if they're even in the playoff spot or not. We can always go through all of that, say, during the course of the episode. So, folks, sit tight.
But before we do any of that, let's ask Dave, how are you doing? Because I don't think anybody ever asked Dave how he is doing when we start the show.
Thank you. Nobody actually asked me how I'm doing. That's the craziest thing. In the last 6 years that we've been doing this, nobody has given a damn
What?
about how I feel.
What? I said, how are you? 3:44 a.m. We just glossed over that. We glossed over me saying that. Wow, that's wild.
I will definitely gloss over that. Consider you called me 3:44 in the morning, goddamn morning. But you're out here looking like 4:44 in the goddamn morning. No, 4:45 in the goddamn morning. All right, so don't piss me off right now. I have two rules. One, don't piss me off, and two, you talk about me, I will end you. Nah, real talk. I'm okay. Trying to just enjoy the eternal sunshine of the Ontario mind right now, which is nothing more than sheer insanity. I'm also enjoying the Leafs right now, and just trying to mind my own business by just going to work and going home. But now that the sun is coming out, I'm starting to socialize again. And real talk, it is a very frightening thing. Even though I am 37 years old and I am a grown ass man, I am still scared of socializing with people because people have some fuckery, right? So either way, I'm getting there. I'm somewhat getting there. But real talk, thank the both of you for actually asking how I'm feeling, regardless of the darkness comment. Right? Oh, jeez. Okay. All sessions of the dozens aside, we got a real great show lined up for you tonight. First things first, one of the biggest things we're going to talk about, Ovi finally hitting 895. We're also going to talk about the fact that the St. Louis Blues have won 12 straight. We're going to take a look into the NHL standings. We're going to take a look at the PW as well. We're also going to look at the fact that Rogers has basically extended their reign of darkness in the NHL over the next 12 years. A very massive, extensive deal. We're going to break that down really quickly. And then finally, we're also going to try and take a look into the junior situation as well, as it looks like the road to the Memorial Cup is starting to heat up. And there are some teams out there that are ready to throw hands, especially within my region. So there's a lot of hockey to talk about tonight. Let's start off with the biggest one of all time. The great one, there is a new great one in the NHL, and his name is Alexander Ovechkin. If you have been under a rock, Mr. Ovechkin himself has finally hit the 895 plateau for goals in the National Hockey League. Earlier on Sunday, Mr. Ovechkin himself, aka the Great Eight, had I guess had a tip in from Tom Wilson at at UBS Arena and notched himself the lone goal that Washington had in a 4-1 loss to the Islanders. But of course, Bedlam had kind of ensued where the entire bench had basically just jumped off and basically hugged up Ovechkin. Gretzky was apparently there. His wife was there. His kids were there. Bettman and his bald head were still there. It was all types of craziness. But congratulations to Alexander Ovechkin and knocking off a 31-year record. I think this is the second time that this has actually happened in NHL history, in fact, within our lifetime. And if you were over the age of, say, 35, you've seen two goal records being eclipsed, to tell you the truth. March of 1994, which was exactly 31 years ago, or as it was broken down on TNT, 11,092 days ago, 11,338 days ago. Wayne Gretzky broke Gordie Howe's record of, I believe it was 862.
Which record for goals or 802?
Yeah, 862 goals.
It was when Gretzky passed him, Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
That was it. He passed 801 with 802.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, my mistake. I was giving Gordie an extra 50, but but yes, Wayne Gretzky had broken the record. I believe it was against his former team.
Vancouver. It was Vancouver.
It was Vancouver, excuse me. Yeah. And Wayne Gretzky became the all-time goals leader before retiring in 1999 with the New York Rangers, ending at 894 goals. 11,338 days, 11,092 days before that, Gordie Howe had actually set the record for most goals scored all time in NHL history. A total of 62 years between those two records, which is absolutely insane. And I gotta say, right now, like significantly speaking, I can't believe we're actually alive to see two goal records get broken, let alone two Gretzky records get broken within the same season.
You know, the 894, it felt like a mark that was never going to be hit in terms of what you needed to do to hit even 800 goals in a career. That seemed like it was near impossible to get 800 goals. Ovechkin was steady in terms of his output of his entire career. Didn't have that many injuries. I mean, his first major injury came this year at age 39, in which Ovechkin is having one of his best seasons after breaking his leg, which is wild to me. And yeah, so it seemed like that was a mark that was never going to happen, never going to be reached. But Ovechkin has been steady for much of his career, didn't deal with a lot of injury issues, had good teammates, and yeah, seeing him scoring a wrist shot on the pass from Wilson on the power play, it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool seeing that, but that was kind of funny too. A social media response. People are saying how oh, they're pausing the game for a ceremony. Of course they are. It's in the HL's all-time goal record, and it happened. It happened at '94 when Gretzky passed out. They had a ceremony mid-game. Of course, they're gonna do a ceremony mid-game for this. Of course they were. Like,
I mean, isn't it practically ideal to do something like that at this point? Because I mean, like, what we're losing three greats as it is, essentially within the next 2 to 3 years. Like Marc-Andre Fleury has won. Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, won two Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, and like he's been one of the most prolific goaltenders of all. Sorry, let me rephrase that: three Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he's been one of the most prolific goaltenders of our generation. Like say outside of Henrik Lundqvist and Jonathan Quick. Like I don't think I don't believe there's been any other solid goaltenders out there. But I mean, with the exception of Nikolai Khabibulin, Martin Brodeur, who else would there be in this situation? Can't even say Ryan Miller, even though Ryan Miller was actually a decent goaltender. Like just,
he's in the air, one of the best American goaltenders of all time, one of the best American netminders.
and we also can't forget about Carey Price. Carey Price is like basically like GOAT status at this point. So I mean, we've lost like a good significant number of players, and like Crosby and Ovechkin are next, and it's just like it's only a matter of time.
Has Carey Price officially retired yet or no?
No, like I mean that's the messed up thing.
No, yeah, that was me. Trey Price, he's retired. Well, he basically he said his career is done. Like he's pretty much said his career is over with his knees.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I feel like Carey actually deserved one more shot at the Stanley Cup. I mean, as much as I hate Montreal more than anything, like Carey Price definitively deserved a Stanley Cup ring. No question. And it's like it doesn't matter if you're a Leafs fan or even a Bruins fan or hell, even if you were like say a Panthers fan or what have you, you have to recognize the fact that like Carey Price was that dude for a while. So, you know, that was significant in itself. Um thought well, Troy, I want to hear your thoughts on this. And do you have any congratulatory message for the great eight himself? Even though he's probably never going to listen to this.
Well, you never know. Hopefully our podcast reaches Washington, and they get to hear our messages of congratulations. Yes, I think he did an amazing job throughout his career.
Mhm.
I've been watching the highlights and reading columns and such over the last week or so, highlighting everything that he's done from beginning to end. Coming in with Crosby right after the lockout season, and two of them basically being neck and neck for total points. We knew this day would come. Well, in fact, he didn't think this day would come because that interview with Elliot Friedman is resurfacing, where the two of them sat down and discussed the possibility of catching Gretzky, and he didn't think he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Today, here we are. He finally caught him. Congratulations, Alexander Ovechkin. You deserve it. And I mean, this probably would have come sooner if he didn't break his leg, but credit to the team doctors and everyone involved for getting him as healthy as he possibly could be to come back and basically just said, you know what, this record's mine. Like, I want this. And I feel like this was more exciting to watch, basically because we've been alive to see every single one of his goals.
Yes.
Whereas with Gretzky's, some of us weren't alive, and Avery might want to fact check this. I feel like most of Gretzky's goals didn't actually come as an NHL player, and I think maybe they're still counting his WHA total when they merged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then Ovechkin is truly the NHL goal scoring king.
Yeah, WHA ones do not count. They don't count that. Yeah, they see that as a whole separate entity. So yeah, so Ovechkin is the king. The NHL said WHA is a different entity. It was not absorbed his good stats in that league.
Okay.
Wow.
Ovechkin's still the the goal scoring king when Gretzky is now one goal behind. Him and Brent Gretzky have some catching up to do.
Pretty much.
But I feel bad for Ilya Sorokin because now he's the answer to a Trivial Pursuit question. I mean, most people will forget. Well, most people will forget who Ovechkin scored on. They'll just remember that he did it at 39 years old and only missed 16 games. So imagine if he didn't miss the 16 games. Are we possibly looking at 900 goals?
I feel like it may happen at this point. So it's not a matter of if, but when.
Because what is he at now? Like 41 on the season, right? I mean, and that 41 or 42, and that puts him good for like second or third in terms of league scoring behind Draisaitl, right? So it's like, I think right now it's Draisaitl, Ovechkin, and Nylander, and it Tage Thompson, because Tage Thompson has scored 40 goals this year too. Yeah, like had he not missed those 16 games, I think he would be beating Draisaitl for the Rocket record right now. But
more than likely,
what it is. It is what it is. He's had a fantastic season, and honestly, I'm sure Ovechkin's probably said this a bunch of times. I haven't watched all the reports and things like that. The only way to top a season like this is to win the Stanley Cup. But you're gonna have to go through the Maple Leafs first.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, it's looking like a foregone conclusion. It's like they're dealing with the Leaf them, and that there's no way around that. So it is what it is.
Nothing wrong with a little self-confidence, right?
Yeah, for real.
But I did like part of Ovechkin's celebration speech where he
basically flew like Superman.
Thank you, Sorokin, for being in that for my record-breaking goal.
Great.
I couldn't have done it without you, buddy.
Like, hey, super.
I heard they had a nice exchange after the game where like they exchanged sticks and things like that, and they had a good chat. So
yeah,
it's a good day for hockey all around. So it's nice to see.
That was funny. But I'll say it was funny to see the Hall of Fame people like, yo, run me that jersey, that stick, run me that the Hall of Fame like beating there on him, like, yo, run me that jersey, everything comes with us back to Toronto.
The sad part is that's true because it's like it's like we've got something else to add to the trophy collection and shit. So
do they ask for like his jock and his draws too, like the socks, everything?
Hey, yo! I hope not. Yo,
Yo, because that's kind of disgusting.
ain't no way, anybody out here in the Hall of Fame should be asking. I hope not. I would imagine they're not asking this man for his jock. I would hope not, at least.
Because I mean, if you're asking for like gloves, sticks, skates, jersey, what's to say? Who's to stop them from being like, give me your shin guards too, give me your jock strap, give me your shoulder pads, give me all of it.
Yo, give me your cup too.
But somebody out there's eager to get their hands on that and sell that to the eBay.
Some freaky, some weirdo out there would bid on that. We know that much. People are real on these streets.
Yo, there are some messed up people out there, man. But in any event, all of us here at the Third Intermission Podcast, we want to say congratulations to you, Alex. 20 years on great goal scoring and just highlight real goals and just doing the absolute impossible. Congratulations on finally eclipsing Wayne Gretzky's record of could you hit 900 by the time the season's done? We'll see. I mean, you almost had a hat trick the other day, so I mean, anything's possible with you at this point. So we just want to say congratulations, and when you come to Toronto, be ready to expect 16 different ass whoopings. So that's all we got. Jeez. All right. Moving on. The St. Louis Blues, of course, another team that we surprisingly talking about for some reason, I don't know, has hit a franchise record 12 straight victories. Very much significantly so. They have gotten themselves into a playoff spot, into a decent playoff spot. In fact, looking at the standings right now in the Western Conference, St. Louis currently has a wild card spot at this rate. And even though they're only 5 points behind Colorado for third in the Central, I feel like St. Louis might actually be a dark horse team in the playoffs this year. Ideally speaking, when you have teams riding a wave of momentum and say winning 4 games, 5 games, that's pretty significant. But 12 straight going into the end of the season, that's volcanic at this point. And I gotta say, Jordan Binnington's been standing on his head since the four nations face off.
And it's been fun seeing this St. Louis Blues team earlier in the season went out and got unemployed Jim Montgomery, and they haven't looked back. Montgomery has been a key cog behind the bench with this team's success, and they've been getting great play from guys like Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway. One of the guys who's off sheet from Edmonton, him and Philip Broberg, he is having a breakout season for that Blues squad. The pieces that they've gone and acquired have clicked wonderfully in St. Louis. And I've said it before on the show, the Blues are going to be a scary team in Western Conference come postseason time, guys.
Roy, what are your thoughts on this? If he's still there.
No, I'm still here.
Right.
I think the last time we saw the Blues go on a run like this, it was with Craig Berube now. When they were in the basement of the division, Berube comes in, and then they win the Stanley Cup. So maybe that's kind of what their fortune is right now. Go on a hot streak and just run it all the way straight through all 4 rounds. But I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? They want to run the table all 4 rounds. I'm 12-game win streak. I mean, it definitely boosts your position for sure. Can they catch and pass Colorado? It's hard to say. I mean, you've got Landeskog on the horizon, who's possibly coming back. Who knows? You might even see him last game of the season just so he gets a little warm up, right?
Yep.
And you've got the Wedgwood and Blackwood as the Colorado goalie. So I mean, they have been lights out since joining Colorado, and you still got McKinnon, 30-goal scorer Makar, Rantanen. Like they've still got a whole cast of teammates. So I mean, like the St. Louis run, it definitely looked good on paper, but well, come playoff time, it might be something completely different, right? So I mean, this again, it could be something that goes right to the end of the season where this 12-game run might be for nothing, especially if they don't get help anywhere else around them.
Well, honestly speaking, I mean, St. Louis has had one of the best records since the Four Nations face-off, as they're now 18-2-2, and it's just absolutely crazy to see. So, ideally speaking, if St. Louis is on, if St. Louis is going to stay on a tear at this point, then sky's the limit not only for the Blues but also just for the playoffs. You know. Of course, other teams have kind of had a hot hand as well. Colorado, the Leafs have had a pretty hot record as well since that tournament. Um, I think we can all agree, though, the one team that has basically been a dumpster fire is Boston, and that's just been every that's just been every Leafs fan's dream at this point, and every Montreal fan's dream at this point. But you know, you can't. Not every team can make the playoffs this year, so it is what it is at this point.
You were talking about the fall off. This is the first time earlier this month the Bruins were in last place in the division in the Atlantic for the first time since 1996, 1997. So it's been a long time since the Bruins were sitting in last place in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, like that's absolutely scary, to think the amount of time that Boston has had not only significant dominance within a division, but also within the Eastern Conference. Of course, what, two, if not three Stanley Cup Finals appearances within like the last 20 years? At least three, if not four, top four appearances, or no, conference finals appearances,
Hmm?
a significant amount of conference quarterfinals, and a significant amount of conference semifinal appearances as well. Like Boston has been nothing short of a team on a tear, a team on a mission. And you know what? I think we were saying the same thing when Tampa Bay finally fell off for the first time a couple years ago. So
I'm interested to see what that time capsule looks like of what the world was the last time Boston was in last place.
I feel like Space Jam was like the best movie out at that time still.
Also
Probably.
showing
And what was that, 96?
96, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so the last time the Bruins finished last, they ended up drafting Joe Thornton the year after, no?
Yep.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all
I
we can
feel,
say.
I feel real old.
Trust me, we all do. I mean, wait, Avery, are you over the age of 30 at least?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, 32.
Okay.
I was still in elementary school the last time the Bruins finished last. Holy shit.
Yeah,
No,
like I was in like what, sixth grade around that time.
no, it's been a long. The last time the Bruins were in last in April in the Atlantic Division, the NHL every time was still playing. Mac Hughes, an active player in the league. So
Wait, he was the
The
last
last
person to not wear a helmet in the NHL?
yeah, you didn't. Yeah, Kermit Towers. Yeah, that's a known. Yeah, 97,
Wait, I
Yeah,
thought that man retired in 94. After
97.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
yeah, he's the last guy to not wear a bucket, and I believe it's like one of his first two games behind the bench, he gets drilled in the head with a puck.
he did.
Poetic justice.
Yes, he did. He's right. Yep, literally. Yeah, literally. Troy's right. Like literally, the next year he retired. He joins Rangers coaching staff, and yeah, he gets it with a puck immediately as becoming Rangers coach.
It's like,
The last time the Bruins
really, like,
finished last, the last time the Bruins finished last, the Atlantic Division didn't exist yet.
It was Northeast.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yes, it was in the Northeast Division. Holy smokes!
Yeah, because like what the Atlantic Division was like, what was it?
I forgot the Northeast.
It was like Hartford. Hartford was still in the league at the time. It was like Hartford, like The Florida Panthers.
They're in Atlantic. Yeah, it was Northeast was Northeast was Boston, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Montreal, Hartford, Boston.
Wait, wasn't Toronto in that?
No, they were in the West.
Toronto didn't join the Northeast until '99. That's right.
They're in the Western Conference still. They're still in the Central in the West.
That's such a long time ago. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the Leafs in now at least in 97, the Leafs were awful. They had a record of 30, 44, and 8.
And ties were still a thing back then.
Yes, they were.
What was that Ted Lasso reference? It's like getting a tie is like kissing your sister. It's like it's one of the most messed up lines I've ever
heard. Then Troy's right. It's a funny time, Captain. Like looking back at that 96-97 season, looking back like who the leaders were, who was around, like the NHL broadcasting rights on the NHL broadcasting deals in the US, Fox had the broadcasting rights.
The puck with like that little red aura there, and then when there was a shot that was like over 100 miles per hour, return.
Yep, Fox track puck. Yep.
To be fair, that NHL on Fox theme was actually a banger.
Absolutely it was. No, it was a good thing. No, they had a good thing going there. The NHL on Fox. I mean,
sidebar. The year I remember this now. The year they did the Fox track Fox. I remember in elementary schools, and when you had to do the public speaking thing, you had to pick a topic. And for some reason, my brain went to the Fox track Fox to do a whole public speaking that on how much I disliked it. My whole theory was like black puck, white ice. What aren't you following? People thought it was absolutely hilarious. I moved on a couple rounds, but then that was it because people were talking about more socially conscious things because not everybody followed hockey or knew what I was talking about, right? So
yeah,
I tried. I thought it was funny.
To be fair, like the NHL on Fox was actually a whole solid broadcast because like they had like these 3D mechanized teams. I don't even think Toronto even ever had a game on NHL on Fox.
That's actually a great question. So I actually Googled once because I was bored. I'm a weirdo. I actually Googled the broadcast for NHL on Fox. Yeah, unless you were in the playoffs, Canadian teams didn't get much love on Fox. Like unless you were a playoff team, you weren't on. I mean, it makes sense because it was meant for the U.S. audience. So the only time you ever saw Winnipeg on there was on the playoffs. Edmonton only had one game against Dallas because like why would Fox feature Edmonton or Winnipeg? They're meant for the American audiences.
Exactly. And like whatchamacallit, like now that you have one of the best American players out there in this generation in Austin Matthews, is like Americans are going to want to see him regardless.
Oh, of course, and that's why you're gonna see a lot of Austin Matthews and company. If the Leafs go deep on an ESPN on a TNT, this is the perfect time. We talk about marketing.
You mean when at this point? I'm literally saying this right now. It's like, it's going to happen. So like,
well, I'll just say this much. Yo, Toronto people. If we're living in a world where the Leafs make it to the Cup Finals, behave yourself. Don't get too ridiculous.
We're not Philadelphia when it comes to the Super Bowl, okay? Where the cops are even busting out dreams and nightmares by Meek Mill. Like,
true. Granted, when the Raptors won the title, and I'll amend. When the Raptors won the championship, y'all were civil. I'll give you that. Y'all were civil.
Listen, we were mad peaceful when that happened, okay? Like, the only thing that went crazy was like people were jumping on buses and light posts as if we were in fucking Barrie, and Barrie had just won the Memorial Cup. Like, it was absolute bedlam. But like one of the craziest and like one of the most tame. It was like one of the craziest yet tame nights in all of Toronto history. You had people dapping up their ops left, right, and center during that whole thing, and it's just like, where were you? Where were you the night the Raptors won the championship? It's like, I found out my boy had ended up well, let's just say 9 months later, their son came out. But like,
I mean,
there were a lot of Raptor babies made that night.
I mean, I get it. That's a great time to enjoy yourself.
Right. A lot of Raptors championship babies came out during that time, and it's like, you know what? Like, I got no problem. Like, listen, I'm all for it at this point. But I don't think you really understand the baby boom that is about to come out if the Leafs end up winning the Stanley Cup this year.
All these children named Austin and Mitch.
Trust me. Trust me.
The way the city came together when the Raptors won, it was kind of, when you think about it was kind of like when Kendrick had the Crips and Bloods on stage together, dissing Drake. He got them together, hold a little peace session, and they're like, "Yeah, we're good. Let's celebrate something."
Trust me. And like Toronto had been hurting for a championship outside of like say the Big Four for a very long time. Like, I mean, nobody really, well, let me rephrase that. There were a lot of people that actually did give a damn about the Argos and TFC when they won, but you know, it wasn't on the grand scale where the Raptors were. And mind you, like the largest, I guess the largest non-religious public gathering right now in North American history still has to be the Chicago Cubs parade back in 2016. But I feel like Toronto, like if and when the Leafs win the Stanley Cup within the next few years, I feel like that number is jumping to at least 7 mil, 7.5 mil. Because like you're gonna have not only Toronto proper, you're gonna have Barrie, you're gonna have Oshawa, you're gonna have Kitchener, you're gonna have Hamilton, you're gonna have Ancaster, you're going to have Mississauga, Pickering. You're gonna have people from North Bay and Sudbury and all these other blood clot white towns just coming to Toronto, wear Leafs jersey, saying like, "Yo, we finally won the cup." And it's like there's gonna be a lot of unwashed asses in the city. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yo, what did these towns do to you?
Everybody's gonna be outside that day, and
I tell you, when the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, Toronto's getting burnt down. I'm sorry, the only building that'll be left standing is the CN Tower.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's gonna be people out there. Like, everybody's gonna be outside. Some in a good way and some in a bad way.
Yo, for real. Like, it's gonna be a 4-day holiday. Like, the Toronto Stock Exchange is not working. There's gonna be no concerts, no games. The Jays are gonna be like, "Yo, we're taking an impromptu road trip right now."
All right, man.
Yo, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Like, yo, dog, there's gonna be a fire. There's gonna be a fire at some point downtown that will not be put out until like maybe the 4th day. I'm telling you.
Who do you think you are? What kind of people do you think you're dealing with?
I'm telling you, Leaf fans are absolutely crazy because, like, the fact that we have not won a Stanley Cup in nearly 60 years, like, I'm telling you right now, like, shit's about to be destroyed in the worst way possible. And, like, it's not going to be like the Vancouver riots where, like, you get on international television for the wrong reasons.
All right.
Sorry, like if there's Canucks fans listening to this right now, I'm not trying to roast y'all, but like you have to understand the grand scheme of things. Okay, Leaf fans have suffered immensely for almost like 60% or like 60% of a century. Like, if we were on the Chicago Cubs level of, like, say, not winning a Stanley Cup, I'm telling you right now, the city of Toronto would pretty much be a nuclear crater at this point with the amount of partying the city would do. But at that given point in time, it's just like, you know what, like, I can't really say that, like, you know what, the city would explode in joy, but it would be like a spontaneous combustion of joy at that point for Leaf fans. Again, I don't know. I'm just talking shit at this point. So.
Oh goodness! Again, the mind of Dave Barnett's a wild place. That's all I'll say.
Listen, this is tame compared to most days.
This man. Again, I don't know who you think Toronto. I mean, people gonna have a good time, but this man's talking about 4-day weekend and all kind of foolishness.
Listen, okay. Raptors fans were tame compared to what may transpire when when the Leafs win the cup. So all I'm saying is it's like there is going to be a level of there's going to be a level of like so much like joy and just wildness right at like with the Leafs winning the cup that it's like I don't know if the city will be able to handle it. So that's all I'm saying. You know, you're going all the way from like say the borders of Malton to like the borders of Pickering right there. Like say, let me put it this way: you're going from like Highway 27 and Derry to like say Rouge Hill Go Station, basically where like the border between Scarborough and Pickering is. Like that's how serious this is gonna be. And then it goes as far north as like not even Young and Steeles, Young and Highway 7. I don't know. Maybe I'm just shit talking. But anyways, let's get back on track here. Okay, so before we finish off with the new Rogers deal, let's go into some standings real quick before we go off to our next topic. We're actually going to start off with the PW. Our lovely friends over at Coca-Cola Coliseum currently are sitting on 45 points right now, with 3 games remaining. It looks like they might be able to actually catch Montreal. Currently, right now, Montreal sitting up top the division, up top the league with 48. Boston sitting on 40, and Ottawa sitting on 39. It looks like Minnesota might be able to catch might be able to catch Ottawa with 3 games remaining as well. It's like it's kind of looking a little interesting because like now that there's a dogfight up top for first in the PW, Toronto could potentially be the regular season champ once again, and Minnesota could come in and actually just cause absolute mayhem. And of course, third through fifth is literally separated by 2 points right now. So it's practically anybody's game at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I know the odds for them are slim, but even New York, even though odds are slim for them for getting back into things, they have a slight shot of maybe catching Ottawa. I doubt it, but there's a slight chance for the New York Sirens. But I'm fascinated by how Toronto has got themselves into it again against with Montreal for that chase for number one seed in the PW. So a lot of things still to be determined right now. Nothing is settled. Nothing yet has been settled. I like that. I like the fact that from first even down to number 6 team right now, there's still a chase going on in some way, in some form.
And it's like it's pretty much like I said, it's anybody's game at this point. Each team has like 3 games left, and Toronto has some really big shoes to fill, especially from last year after they basically ended up first in the league and then basically got slapped by the now defending PWHL champs in Minnesota. So that's something that really has to be taken into consideration. It's like, will Toronto collapse again the same way that they did last year? Also, at the same point in time, it's like, is Montreal going to hold on to first place, or will they basically drop the ball and go to second? Will Boston make the playoffs? Will Ottawa make the playoffs? Will Minnesota make the playoffs? And it's like, these are questions that we may not be able to have answered once their expansion really happens, and like it expands from like say potentially a 16 league to a 12-team league. You know, that's something that's really significant here. But I don't know. Like, I mean, it's extremely interesting because it's like there's a total of 6 points on the board for each of these teams, and it's like in an ideal situation, Montreal goes 3 for 3 and they lock up first, or they go 2 for 3 and potentially get a single point in overtime or what have you, and like they still end up with they still end up a point ahead of Toronto. Or if Toronto goes 3 for 3, then it's like, you know, there's so many permutations in this situation here for first in the league, because like we know Boston won't be able to catch them, but Boston can maintain either third or even potentially go into second depending on how everything goes.
And I feel like also too, people need to, if you're not watching Montreal, pay attention to Anne-Renee Davenay. She's been having a solid year in net for Montreal. She's the only goaltender with the GAA under 2. She has a GAA of 1.85. She's been on fire this whole season for Montreal. She's been having a great year in net for the Victoire.
Troy, I know you've been watching this real quick. What are your thoughts on all this? As he did actually currently disappears right now. But I've been keeping my eye on the P-Dub for a hot minute, and you know what? Like I've been trying to keep my eye on Toronto games and everything. Toronto's been really picking it up since the trade deadline, and I'm really happy with how they're playing right now, and they're just playing like solid beauties. And you know, Sarah Nurse has been handling her business. Daryl Watt, is it Daryl Watt?
Yeah, Daryl Watts, yes.
Yeah, Daryl Watts has been the superstar that Toronto's significantly needed. And you know what? Like, I can't say I'm thoroughly unimpressed because like Toronto has been on a tear all season long. And now that they potentially have a chance to catch Montreal for first, I want to see it happen. I genuinely want to see it happen.
Yeah, I think it's funny how we could potentially have Montreal, Toronto in a playoff series in multiple leagues this spring. That's a possible reality.
That is a massive reality. I mean, we could have Leafs and Habs, Victoire and Scepters. I really don't think there are any other leagues where you could see Toronto, Montreal again. But
no, but of course, we're gonna also have the break for the Women's World Championships, which is coming up and starting in a few days here in Czechia, and that's going to be happening. And again, of course, we talk about the rivalries. We're going to get once again Canada USA in the Worlds, as Canada is in a group with US, Finland, the host Czechia, and Switzerland. Canada kicks off the tournament playing Finland on April 10th. So I'm going to be locked into that. And again, we mentioned this tournament before again, and the growth of the game and nations that could make some noise. And pay attention. Pay attention to what you're going to see out of nations like Japan, like Germany. Like Japan has been quietly impressing the women's game a lot. Japan has been quietly making strides in women's hockey world.
You know, that's something I never thought I'd actually get to hear again, especially after the 98 Olympics. Mind you, I was extremely young back then. And, like, you know, learning about women's hockey, I think women's hockey had just been added to the program at that Olympic Winter Games.
Yes.
It's like, now it's like say what, we're now 27 years past that. And women's hockey is exploded into what it is today. The fact that we're actually talking about a non-European or a non-North American team that's actually quietly gaining steam in the hockey world right now is just nothing short of spectacular. And if Japan actually makes some solid noise in the women's tournament this year, I feel like there could be some significant competition for Canada and the United States to deal with.
And although one thing I do want to mention too is that we mentioned a few weeks ago is that someone who could have been a boost for Canada but will not be able to play is Hannah Miller. She was from the Scepters. She won't be able to play for Team Canada because people forgot she had actually played for China in the past. And she wanted to switch back to Canada. Unfortunately, she had not satisfied the requirements to play for Canada quite yet. There's a 2 waiting period to play for another nation. So unfortunately, the waiting period hasn't been met yet. So she's off the roster, placed by Julia Gosling. So that's kind of a bummer for Canada not getting her back, because Miller's been a great player on the penalty kill, able to score in a power play. So
that's extremely significant and extremely unfortunate as well. So that is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as well. Troy, have you come back yet so we can actually pick your brain about the P-Dub real quick?
Sure. Yeah. I guess like the way that they have their league set up is that no matter who finishes where, it's going to be an interesting finish because every game counts for something. Like you can't it in or anything like that, like just mail it in or anything like that, because um, you can still gain points that mean something even if you're out, right? So like you're definitely not trying to finish last.
Mm-hmm.
I think Toronto might fare a little better this time around in the playoffs because they have Natalie Spooner. Because once she was lost last year, like the bottom fell out. You know, you've got a healthy Sarah Nurse coming back into the lineup. Um, you know, and you got everybody Renata Fast, and you know your what's the goalie's name again? I forget her name, but she's
Chris,
doing
Kristen Campbell.
Okay,
well.
yeah,
That's
there you
it. Yes, she's doing amazing between the pipes. She's holding it down back there. Like she's a very solid goalie. Like it's not an easy goalie to beat, and I give her props for her goalie pad setup. I think that's awesome. Um, I think she fares better in yellow pads, better than Marc Andre Fleury did.
go.
Um, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting way to the finish, and much like you guys, I look forward to
Mm. All right. So we're gonna sidestep off to the CHL real quick. Much love to our friends over at the Scepters. Hopefully we hear from y'all. Hopefully we hear from y'all and have y'all on the show very, very soon. Let's take a look at the CHL and the road to the Memorial Cup. Of course, the Memorial Cup is in Rimouski this year, but the OHL has finished up round one. Um, Finally, with Oshawa and Brampton finishing off their series earlier this week. Brampton, of course, being the lone GTA team, well, the lone GTA team within I guess reaching distance. They were eliminated by the Oshawa Generals earlier this weekend. So round two looks like this in the Ontario Hockey League. In the East, you got Brantford taking on Oshawa. That's going to be a great matchup. Of course, the former Hamilton Bulldogs taking on the Oshawa Generals. And then you've got Barrie taking on Kingston in the East. In the Western Conference semis, the lone American team in the Erie Otters, of course, Connor McDavid's old team, they'll be taking on the powerhouse in the London Knights, and the Windsor Spitfires will be taking on Kitchener. Couple of these series will actually start off later on in the week. In fact, game one between Kitchener and Windsor starts off on Thursday. And from what I'm hearing, of course, within the region right now, like, of course, considering that, say, the semi-pro league in the basketball super league right now, Kitchener and Windsor are currently like locked in a best of five series to see who's going on to the finals right now. And now that you have this added onto the whole situation, there's going to be a lot of hostility between the cities of Windsor and Kitchener, and it's going to be absolute bedlam at this point. Considering that, of course, I'm also a Titans fan out here, and it's just absolutely crazy. So, of course, mind you, Kitchener's a hockey town, so sky's the limit on that. In the QMJHL, right now we're looking at this. A couple teams have gone through. Moncton has gone through. The hosts for the Memorial Cup actually have advanced on to the quarterfinals as they'll be playing Chicoutimi. Um, they're just waiting on Baie-Comeau and Cape Breton to finish off to see who Moncton will be playing. Then, of course, Drummondville and Halifax are still going. Um, the Huskies right now, they're waiting on their opponent. Shawinigan's waiting on their opponent as well. And Blainville, Sherbrooke are also waiting on their next opponent as well, depending on seeding. And then finally, in the Western Hockey League, Medicine Hat, of course, is waiting on the winner of Prince Albert and Edmonton. Lethbridge is advanced. Everett and Seattle are still going at it right now. Game 6 is slated to kick off on Monday. Spokane right now awaiting, say, the winner between Prince George and Portland. So we're going to keep an eye on all that for you as we approach the I guess, the big dance of, say, the Canadian junior hockey system in the Memorial Cup. I don't know. I'm probably sure you guys don't watch too much junior hockey, but like, what are you guys hearing in regards to that?
I do want to give a shout out. No, so I do try to keep an eye on the CHL. And, I've covered CHL before in the past. I may get called upon to do it again with the Oil Kings in the postseason. But I do want to give a big shout out to Jakub Milota, who was the goaltender for the Cape Breton Eagles, kept their season alive against Baie-Comeau. 3-2 marathon game in Game 5, and that series went to 5 overtimes, 5 OT game. Milota had 84 saves in the win, 84 saves in the victory.
That's insane. Absolutely insane. Like that's like Vezina level status at that point. I'm not even joking when I say that.
Yeah, that's the second most saves all time in QMJHL history, and that's absolutely
Really?
Yes, 86 is record.
Wow.
Yeah, that that is hard. That is endurance to be able, man. I know, boy, them knees, them hips were probably hurting the next
Trust
day.
me, the ice baths were on deck that night at that point, man.
Yo, we talk about skaters being tired, going to marathon games. I cannot imagine being a goaltender playing 8 periods of hockey and being a butterfly goaltender, all that up down for 8 periods of hockey. That's wild.
No, I can't say like that's something I could barely do. Like I could barely even make like 30 saves in a game at this rate, and that's me playing street hockey. Imagine playing ice hockey. That's absolutely wild.
Like,
will never have to do leg day at the
gym. Trust me.
Troy, could you imagine, as someone who plays, could you imagine yourself playing in a 5 overtime game with a goalie and having to make 84 saves, Troy?
Listen, 84 saves? You better be buying me the entire keg and letting me drink that to myself.
Trust me.
Are you kidding me? 84 saves is wild. Like, that's impressive. Like, as someone who's been in a position as a goalie, I mean, yeah, it takes a special kind of person to get hit, to want to get hit with pucks and road hockey balls, things like that. But like 84 saves, like you're 100%, you are dead tired. Every single ice pack now belongs to you for the next 24 to 48 hours. Yeah, and yeah, your team is most definitely buying you a keg. They usually say like it's buy him a pitcher or buy him a case. You give this man.
Yeah, yo, I'm on a pitcher at this point, man. Like, yo, you're buying me a keg yesterday.
Yeah, you're buying him the keg and you're tapping it for him and you're watching him drink it.
Right. And it's funny because it's, man, and in the game, Lucas Beckman made 54 saves for Baie-Comeau. Imagine making 54 saves and still losing.
That's craziness, man. Absolute craziness.
Well, when there were still ties in the NHL, I remember there was a Leafs and Avalanche game when Patrick Waugh still played. Patrick Waugh made 52 saves and the game ended in a 2-2 tie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And infamously, the most saves in a tie way back in the day, Ronnie Tugnut with Quebec had 70 saves in a 3-3 tie against Boston.
That's ridiculous. Oh my god.
See, I would feel, that stat to me is even more wild. You make 70 saves and you don't win, you don't lose, you tie.
Right? For real. Like, that's insane. I got a bit of breaking news here real quick. This is obviously non-hockey related, but like this is significantly Canada related. Jays are closing in on a Vladdy deal, 14 years, 500 mil.
Who's the source?
Heyman.
That's okay.
So it looks like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Troy.
I'll believe it when it's actually official. I don't trust Rogers with nothing.
Especially after the whole Dodger situation, listen, that Otani situation still has me pissed off to this day. Like, actually, before we move on to like say AHL and NHL standings, like, I'm a little pissed that we didn't sign Bichette either. Like, that man's getting ready to leave at this point.
Oh yeah, his bags are packed. They're already by the door. He's just waiting for the phone call to tell him where he's going.
I
But
don't know. Like, I feel like the Jays really do need to re-sign his ass before things get too late. And you know what? Like, I mean, obviously, yes, he says he wants out, but like, Toronto will find him a solid deal. And if they don't find him a solid deal, this man's either going to the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox just to basically shove a torpedo bat up her ass at this point.
Oh, jeez.
no, but it's true though. The Jays need to do a better job of retaining their homegrown talent. But we've seen time and time and again that Shapiro and Atkins have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Of course they don't.
The fact that John Snyder's still managing the Blue Jays is example number one.
Oh boy.
The fact that we have all the money that Rodgers could possibly provide, and you still don't have a number for Vladdy that any of you can agree on. Something's going terribly wrong somewhere amongst the shooting, and somebody is going to eventually figure it out when it's too late.
Isn't that how it always goes, though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the Jays, they effed around when they let Anthopoulos walk, and we are forever in the find out stage.
My heart's still breaking for that man. Like, honestly, like the man had actually won a World Series with Atlanta, and I'm still fuming over that. Like, I will say this right now: 2015, the Jays got robbed by that Amish bastard in Kansas City. Goddamn neck beard looking ass.
I mean, I was gonna say this is a great segue from Troy mentioning Rogers and Jays. A great segue into the fact that they have re-upped for 12 more years with the NHL on a new broadcasting deal.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I was gonna just jump into that. So, Avery, I'm gonna let you take that one on this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this past week it came out that the NHL and Rogers are partnership. You're gonna get a lot more of Rogers, a lot more of the NHL. They're locked into a brand new 12-year deal. Of course, the current one was expiring after next season, but nope, a new deal has been upped. And the money is wild. As we learned last Wednesday, it's a new 12-year agreement, which is worth $11 billion Canadian. 7.68 billion USD, but $11 billion with a B Canadian. This new deal will kick in for 26-27 onward, but man, after it seemed like we were gonna get either a change or a split in terms of TV deal. You know what? Maybe somebody else does come in. Maybe an Amazon does try to expand on their deal more. Man, it looked like Rogers might be stepping away from the NHL, but nope. They said, we're here. We're staying for even longer.
Well,
does nobody else have money?
I know. I was going to say, folks, be prepared to pay like $500 on your Rogers cell phone bill. That's all I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, all your things are secretly going up, and their customer service is never going to tell you why because they don't know either. But seriously, does nobody else have like the amount of money that Rogers is committing to this? Like, you remember when Austin Powers, when Dr. Evil asked for $1 billion or like $1 million, and they laughed at him because like this kind of money doesn't exist.
Yeah,
the kind of money that Rogers throws around because they basically own everything in Toronto. Like, like they have more money than we can imagine. Like it's the amount of money that they're putting into it, like it's laughable. Just like how the world leaders laughed at Doctor Evil when he asked for $1 million. It's like you don't want to let nobody else play. You don't want a fair market. You don't want any competition. You're just gonna Vince McMahon it and just buy everything.
It it is wild, but in all seriousness, with Rogers, with this deal, what the amount of money going in there, I just hate that this is a place where we've had layoffs before of talent, where good people lose their jobs in Sportsnet, in TV side of things, radio side of things. When you pay that much for NHL rights, like we shouldn't be having to hear about layoffs incoming of so and so, because people got bills to pay and people should be rewarded for their hard work. So
For real.
it frustrates me when I hear about, this producer's laid off, this host is laid off, this like that. Like it should not be a thing when you're paying $11 billion. Like there should be enough money for everybody gets fed in a perfect world.
No, I fully agree with that. And it's outright insane that like we're even having this conversation again in this day and age.
Yeah,
Just
because
it's wild to think that like, you know what, like you have to deal with this.
I think people have said before, people have pointed out the fact, I mean, even the simplest things or things that shouldn't be too hard to change. I mean, like great example was how long did it take for us to get a new score bug on Sportsnet? It took years into broadcast deal before we got an updated score bug. It's funny because we see networks down south, like you see Fox every year or every couple of years has a new score bug for the NFL. We can't get a new score bug even after 2-3 years in NHL. We got to deal with the same score bug for 6-7 years. Come on now.
I mean, things just don't make any sense anymore. So it just is what it is at this point. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm just frustrated. I'm just frustrated with the fact that Rogers still has a chokehold on everything hockey related right now. So like,
Yeah, no, it's tough. Troy, what are your thoughts on it?
On Rodgers having a stranglehold on everything.
yeah,
That's why I asked. Like, does nobody else have? Like, why
It's
does nobody else have the money to just like Rodgers is Batman right now? Like, they're Bruce Wayneing everything.
it's
Like,
wild,
does not
and no, you're right, Trent. It's wild because I'm in a press conference. Bedman had stated that they extended the opening. Like there was a time period for people to make bids, and they extended the bid offer for another 60 days, and no one else bid except Rogers for the TV rights in Canada. No one else put a bid in.
because once they saw that Rodgers was the lead person, they're just like, it's Rodgers. You're not gonna win against Rodgers because they'll just keep upping the price, knowing that you
exactly.
can't pay.
And that's really it's really tough because right now in Canada, I mean, sure, Amazon's here. There's Apple TV to an extent, but we don't have in Canada. We don't have like great example was when before the TNT deal came with the ESPN, you had other companies. Like we had America has a Fox, CBS, NBC. They have options. They have players. They have TNT. They have Turner. They have players down south who can make it competitive in American media. In Canada, we're kind of stuck, unfortunately.
Yeah, because we only have Rogers and Bell. Oh boy, it's absolutely wild at this point. And you know, I'd be driving my head into a wall if I had to like legitimately deal with this nonsense. But
11 billion dollars, 11 billion, and we still hear about talent layoffs.
madness, all madness. Oh well. Speaking of madness, we're gonna go run off to the American Hockey League now.
Wait, what kind of segue was that?
Yo, it's all madness. So like, yo, like the playoff system is madness as it is in the
I
American.
mean, okay, yes, yeah, no, yeah, no, the Calder Cup playoffs are just the Calder
Yo,
Cup playoffs are silly. The format.
Yeah, because it's like you have your first round and then you have your conference quarterfinals right there. Or sorry, your division semifinals, excuse me. Because it's like look at the whole situation with whatchamacallit, with the North Division and the South, the North, the Central, and whatever, what have you. It's insane because it's like you have practically 8 teams per division, and yet only like five, six, or seven of them get playoff spots now.
And 23 make it in. Like what? Why are 23 teams that making the playoffs in the AHL?
Exactly. Why not 24 at this point? I mean, the North Division has like what, 7 teams that you could fit in. Um, what the Atlantic Division has 8, Central has 7, and the Pacific Division has like 10 bomba clat teams. Like, yo, what is this?
It like trying to explain the format to people and try like remember this is the same. The AHL has had such a goofy decade because remember before 2020 the Pacific Division didn't have uniform set of games. The Pacific played 7 games less than the rest of the league. Like and the standings went by point percentage because of that. Like
That whole thing is a mess. Don't get me wrong. I love the AHL, but it's a mess.
I'm looking at the playoff picture right now on the website, and I am just as confused as the both of you. What
Because it's like,
is this? Like an 8-team division, a 7-team division, another 7-team division, a 10-team division?
yo, I just stated that too.
I know it
This looks like the division set up for a men's league. Like,
Yo, trust me, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
how many teams make the playoffs?
23.
Yo, you couldn't go.
Why?
You couldn't go with a nice even number of 24. Like, really?
Why is there so many teams? Like, you're playing. It's almost like you're having a whole other season before you get to the playoffs at this point.
Exactly.
What is it? Yeah, yeah. Like I'm looking at it right now. Like the Pacific has 10 teams. The first 7 get in. The Central, the Central, the North, the first 5 get in. Atlantic, the first 6. Like I I don't understand.
And
Well, wait a minute. There's a team with only 37 points.
yeah, there's a few teams that just are that stink. Bridgeport stinks.
Yeah, they've got 37 points. And like the next worst team has 52. So like that's a significant amount of sucking. Where and they're still fighting.
It's just craziness all around. Because like, yo, like I'm looking at the Calder Cup playoff bracket from last year. Apparently, like the first round is like 3 games, and then whatchamacallit, the division semis is like a best of 5. The division
Best of
finals is
5.
a
Yeah.
best of 5, and then the conference finals and the actual Calder Cup final is a best of 7. It's like, why not just have uniformity all over the place?
I don't. It it just looks so. If you're trying to get somebody into hockey and trying to explain to them how the AHL has their playoffs, they're gonna cuss you out.
Of course, I'd cut you out the same way.
It's like it just gets more ridiculous the longer you explain it.
I know. What do you do at this point, man? Like, yeah. You got 5 teams getting in one division. You got 8 teams getting in another. 8 teams getting in another, and then another 7 getting in what? Yo, I'm losing my shit.
No, it's a very. It seems like they over. It seems like they're overthinking it way too much. You're right. If you're gonna have 24, okay, for a second argument, yeah, if you're gonna have 24 teams get in, like, or you should have 24 teams getting in. Cool. Why can it not just be 4 or 5 in each division get in. And first round, best of 5. Cool. First 2 rounds, best of 5. Next are all best 7. Why do we need to have this many makes in this one, this many in this many in that, and then the first round best of 3, second round best of 5? Like, come on. Stop.
No,
stop it right now.
Format, Stevie Wonder? Like, yo.
Yeah, like I don't get it. Like, if there's
here's a better question. Who made this playoff format? Donald Trump? Like
what is the 23rd team doing while the other 22 are playing?
No, this format will piss me off. I'm pissed. This hopefully pisses me off. This format.
This whole thing is a mess. This whole damn thing is a mess. Oh my god.
I scrolled down the page of the Calder Cup, and I'm looking at exactly what you guys described: best of 3, best of 5, best of 5, and then 2 rounds of best of 7. But it's like if the playoffs started today, so like you already have teams already into the best of 5 format. But it's like, why did they get there? How did they get there? What is the 23rd team doing? Well, the other 22 were playing.
I want to be in the boardroom when they decide this format. I would love to be in the board governor's office in the AHL figuring out, we're going to have this cockamamie, this idea of a playoff bracket system.
Yo, I'd be throwing bare hands at this point, man. Like, just saying. I would be throwing bare hands at this rate. Because it'd be like, yo, listen, your idea is stupid, smack. Your idea is stupid, smack. It's like, oh, we're gonna go with we have 32 teams. We're gonna put 10 in one division. It's like, get the hell out of my office right now. Catch you one flat slap in your face. Like
well, for the record, the Marlies are in 5th place right now in the North Division. They're sitting on that cut line for the North Division playoffs at 77 points. Belleville's behind them in 6th, and then number 6th spot, Utica 65. So the Marlies are in a good spot right now when it comes to making this cockamamie format of a playoff system.
Yeah, man. And then it's like you also have to worry about Laval. Laval, of course, the Montreal affiliate. They're currently sitting atop the North Division right now. They're currently locked into a playoff spot, sitting at 93 points. The Hershey Bears, the defending Calder Cup champions, they're currently sitting on 91 points right now in the Atlantic. Our other favorite team to look out for in this situation. Wait, who's Edmonton's AHL team? Bakersfield, right?
Bakersfield, yeah, they've been having a tough year out west in Bakersfield, man. It's not been a good year for the Condors.
Right. Yo, listen to some of these team names: Coachella Valley Firebirds, the San Jose Barracuda, the San Diego Gulls, the Henderson Silver Knights. It's like, yo, you wanted to go from first place to second place? Here, let's go from Vegas to Henderson. Like,
hey, man, hey. I get that though, yo. That's convenient as hell, though, man.
It is convenient as hell, but like, yo, like you couldn't stay golden. You had to go silver at that point. Okay, what's your ECHL franchise? The Florida Bronze Knights at this point? Yo, that would have had me bad at that point.
You're gonna like this one, Dave. You didn't hear their ECHL team.
What is it?
The Tahoe Night Monsters.
Okay, folks, that's our show. Good night. Yo, I'm openly pissed off, man. Yo, that's crazy. That's openly crazy. I'm sorry. That makes me mad.
Yep, they made their debut. They made their debut this year in the ECHL, the Tahoe Night Monsters.
That makes me so mad.
Sounds like the name of a truck.
Yo, that makes me so mad. Yo, my body is just writhing with anger right now. Like, yo, I can't deal with this.
Yo, Bill Foley loves him. He loves this deal. He just loves using the name Knight in some form of his franchises.
Do better. Do so much better. Like, yo, I'm actually cheesed.
Yo, do you want to know what his indoor football team is called?
No, I don't.
Well,
Like,
too bad.
I don't punch my laptop if I hear it right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. It's the Vegas Nighthawks. They just walked off the show.
Shit, right now.
So, to recap, the Vegas Golden Knights and Bill Foley, the Vegas Golden Knights, that is the NHL team. AHL team, Henderson Silver Knights. ECHL team, the Tahoe Night Monsters. And the indoor football league team that Bill Foley owns, the Vegas Nighthawks.
Yo, oneness. We're going to the NHL right now. Let's finish this episode before I have an aneurysm. Like, I'm done with this. Anyways, folks, you have no idea how virtually angry I am right now, and I want to just finish this episode. So let's do this. Right now, sitting in the Atlantic, the Leaf Dem, of course, currently have a 6-point lead on the Florida Panthers. Florida, of course, coming off a 3-0 loss against Ottawa earlier on Saturday. And it looks like they're trying to bottom out just to actually face the Leafs in the first round. Really quickly, guys, do you think that's real? I mean, considering how Florida has been, like, I guess, that proverbial wild card team that has gone out of their way to destroy teams left, right, and center based off of their seeding, do you feel like that's a smart strategy for them to do it a third time in a row?
The NHL is too unpredictable for anyone to try and do that bottoming out, tanking thing, because anybody in this league in a postseason, you can't get got. You can get got.
For real. And honestly, look what happened last year. Like, all top seed basically got clipped by Florida. And the next thing you know, Florida is going on a massive run. No, sorry. Wait, not last year, the year before, where we had basically a nuclear arms race with all the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and all of them basically got shit kicked by Florida. Boston got destroyed, and then Toronto got destroyed in 5 games, and then Carolina basically got dummied. So it's like, how do you deal with that in that situation? You know what I mean? Either way, I don't know if Florida wants to avoid Tampa Bay just to have an easier route, or if they can just end up facing, like, what, Washington in round 1. Because, like, it seems like they want to avoid that as much as possible. Like, actually, wait. Based off of the standings right now, if Ottawa were the leapfrog Florida, then Florida would face us in round 1. Ottawa would face Tampa Bay in round 1, and then the winner of that series would go on to round 2. So, but I don't know if I really want that to happen, but we'll see. Following up on the standings here, of course, Tampa Bay currently sitting at 94 right now. They'll actually play the Leafs on Wednesday. Florida Panthers currently sitting at 92. They face the Leafs on Tuesday. Leafs will then face the Sens. Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Ottawa currently sitting at 90 points in the wild card spot. Montreal sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference wild card at 83. Teams on the outside looking in, it's still anybody's game in regards to, say, the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, the Red Wings, and the Rangers, as they're within, say, a 6-point striking distance of the last playoff spot. Of course, Columbus right now, Columbus, Buffalo, the Islanders, the Red Wings, and the Rangers, along with the Montreal Canadiens, all have 6 games remaining. Sabres still have an outside shot to get in. Same with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. However, they're currently at 78 games, so it looks like their window is closing. In the Metro Division right now, Washington just basically running away with it, as they're currently sitting on 107 points. They're more than likely going to win the Eastern Conference. Carolina sitting at 96, and New Jersey sitting at 89. Any surprises coming out of the East that stand out to you guys from when we were talking about this in the beginning of the season?
The Ottawa Senators. And it's weird because, like, that's the team I kind of picked to shit on this year, and look at what they're doing.
Yo, for real.
That's surprising me. I'm looking at the standings, and it's incredibly infuriating to see that the Blue Jackets are above the Islanders, and the Islanders have more points because of these stupid overtime losses. Because the Islanders have 10 overtime losses and Columbus has 9. Columbus is technically ahead of them in the standings.
Not really, because like what
That's,
the Islanders have 78 and Columbus has 77.
yes, but because the Islanders have one more overtime loss,
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm looking at this through the score app, Columbus is seated higher than the Islanders, which is dumb. Unless that's just an error, technical error on there. But if that's what it is, then that's dumb. Like imagine if that's what it ends up coming down to is losing out because of that, because of the stupid loser point or losing, having more overtime losses. Um, other than that, I think really what it's going to come down to is Detroit and New York. They're going to be fighting with Montreal for that last playoff, that last wild card spot. Um, geez. I want to see a Toronto Ottawa first round matchup. The city
I
needs
think
to
we
see
need
that.
it. We genuinely need it.
Let's freshen things up, right? Like let's freshen things up now that Boston's out. Like give this newer generation a taste of what the Battle of Ontario is like, because
But you do
they only
realize
know
that
about
Ottawa's
that.
going to have to bottom out at this point, right?
Yeah, like
Because like, here's the thing:
the
Florida's trying to, and I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize. Florida's just trying to tank right now so that they can end up facing the Leafs in the first round. That's what it's looking like at this point. So right now, based off of things, Ottawa has Columbus on the road on the 11th. They have Montreal in the building, Philly in the building, Chicago in the building. After that, Carolina in the building, and then I believe they finish out the season against. If I could pull this up real quick. Long story short, Ottawa still has like what 6 games left in their season, so they like I said, Columbus, Montreal, Philly, Chicago, Carolina, and then finally, if I can pull this up real quick. Uh, Actually, yeah, that's Hurricanes are their last game. Um, so Ottawa still has a chance to grab a possible 12 points. Uh, will they get it? Who knows? Montreal, of course, they also have 6 games remaining as well. Montreal, of course, holding on to that last wild card spot right now. They've got, by the looks of things, they have Detroit, Ottawa, us on Saturday, the Blackhawks, and then they finish off against the Hurricanes on the 16th. So actually, Montreal has 5 games remaining after they beat the Predators 2-1 on Sunday. So by the time of this recording,
Ottawa and Florida.
sorry.
Ottawa and Florida both have 5 games left.
Yeah. So my apologies for that. So by the time this recording is posted, Ottawa and Montreal will have at least like 4 games left in their season. Florida, of course, right now they're getting set. They're trying to get set to take on like I said, they'll be facing the Leafs later this week. Um, Checking out their schedule real quick before we move on to the Western Conference really quickly and wrap up this episode. Panthers right now they have us on Tuesday, the Red Wings on Thursday, the Sabres on Saturday, the Rangers on the 14th, and then they finish out their season against the Lightning on the 15th. So they have about 5 games left. Could Ovechkin reach 900 goals within the next few days, as they currently have about 5 games left in their season? Who knows? We can always keep I mean, the Metropolitan Division race is pretty much locked up at this point, so we really don't need to keep an eye on that. But I think one of the biggest storylines going into the playoffs right now is obviously like, can the Leafs maintain first place going into the Atlantic? Will Florida bottom out and let Ottawa overtake them in the standings? or will Ottawa just basically say, you know what, listen, we're good right here. We're just going to park the bus and we'll face Toronto in round one. Of course, Battle of Ontario and Battle of Florida series would actually feed families in the Eastern Conference. So let's hope that actually pans out in this situation. We're going to move out west real quick. And of course, we've noticed that the Winnipeg Jets are still holding serve for first in the NHL right now. They're leading the Central with 108 points. Dallas is not too far behind them with 105. Colorado sitting on 98 as well. So it looks like the Central is essentially locked up. The Pacific right now is looking like this. Edmonton is the only team in the Pacific Division that has not locked up a playoff spot, as they're currently sitting on 93 points right now. Avery, what are your thoughts on this real quick?
Well, right. Edmonton will find a way to take care of that. And the big thing now for Oilers is the health of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid. Both are banged up, as well as Stuart Skinner and Matthias Ekholm. So the big thing for Edmonton right now is getting those guys healthy again for what's most likely going to be another first-round matchup playing a hungry LA Kings team that wants to get past them, because I said before, if the Kings lose 4 straight years to the Oilers in round one, Rob Blake is on Indeed.com the next day.
No, I can't say I argue against that right then and there. Of course, Vegas like rolling on top of the Pacific yet again, currently sitting at the century mark for points. Our boy Quentin Byfield also sitting on a playoff team with the Los Angeles Kings, and I'm very happy that his career is starting to take off, especially with, like you said, with a very young and very hungry Los Angeles Kings team right now. Looking at the wild card situation, of course, like I stated earlier in the episode, St. Louis currently on a 12-game winning streak. They essentially have the top wild card spot locked up. Minnesota right now currently sitting on 91 points with 4 games remaining. The Flames have 6 games remaining. Same with the Canucks. Flames currently sitting on 85 points, and the Canucks are sitting on 83. And Utah bringing up the rear at 82. But it looks like Utah might be eliminated as early as, say, Tuesday, as one loss will basically kick them out of, like, say, any potential hopes for them to make the playoffs this year. Calgary and Vancouver, of course, trying to catch Minnesota for that last wild card spot. Troy, Avery, do you have any hope that, say, there will be one more Canadian team being added to the playoffs, or like is it pretty much just Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Winnipeg at this point, and Edmonton?
Looking at the Western Conference, um, Winnipeg is basically fighting Washington for first overall in the NHL.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Central Division is pretty locked up. Going to the wild cards, I mean Edmonton's on thin ice because, like you said, them and St. Louis have 93 points, but Edmonton is in
The
by
Pacific,
virtue
and
yeah,
St. Louis is in the Central. So
of having less overtime losses. Um, I don't. It's gonna come down to basically St. Louis and Edmonton. One of those two is getting the wild card spot. I don't see. What did Avery call them? The Utah Soakers. I don't see them getting in. I don't see them getting in. Calgary, who?
I call them the Latter-day Skates.
the Latter-day Skates. That's actually a wild name.
Calgary
All right,
has
just to correct you real quick. And I apologize for this. So even though both those teams are currently sitting on 93 points, St. Louis is actually in the Central and not the Pacific, and Edmonton's actually in the Pacific Division. So they're in like 2 completely different divisions. The only way St. Louis would actually get like a top three divisional spot is if they overtake Colorado. But it's looking like it might not happen. So it looks like Edmonton might be safe in this situation.
well, just looking at how because again, I'm using the score app, and I'm just looking at how they have like everybody slotted for like divisions and like wild card spots.
Yeah.
That's what it shows. Calgary, I think they might be the one team that has a chance to get in because I mean, like they play the Sharks twice, the Sharks and the Ducks twice. Like their only real test that they have in their final 6 games is the Knights and the Kings. The Knights, the Kings, and the Wild. Everybody else, these are winnable games. But I think in the West, I think some of these teams are going to need more help than teams in the East in terms of getting in.
Avery, your final
So,
thoughts, real quick. If he's there, if he's still there.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, no. In terms of the conference, in terms of Canadian teams, it would be fun to see Calgary or Vancouver find a way to sneak in. But I think right now there's too much ground to be made up in the wild card position because you gotta hope Minnesota or St. Louis falls off to sneak in. And right now it appears neither team is falling off, so it might be too little, too late for the Flames or Canucks to get into the playoffs this year.
So what you're saying is like everything's pretty much locked up in the West, huh?
Yeah, unless somebody just really falls off next few games here, I think we're pretty much secured here in terms of our 16 teams or eight teams in the West at least.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, ideally speaking, right now, I would like to see maybe some sort of chaos in the Western wild card right now. I mean, St. Louis goes on a 12-game winning streak and then they lose 6 straight and then basically just bottom out of the playoffs. I mean, that's just ultimate chaos right there, and I would like to actually see that. But you know, beggars can't be choosers in that situation. When was the last time all 7 Canadian teams actually made the playoffs? Before we wrap up, folks.
1986.
Wow. And that was including Winnipeg? My dude, you just muted.
Yeah, Winnipeg 1.0 Winnipeg Jets were in there, and Quebec was in there.
Yeah, so we had 8 Canadian teams in there.
Seven.
7?
Yeah, because there was Ottawa.
Oh, yeah, there was no Ottawa back then.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe one day we'll see all 6 original 6 teams and all 7 Canadian teams in the NHL playoffs again at the same time, but who knows? All right. On that note, we're going to end things off here. Of course, this has been a lot of fun. Want to thank Avry and Troy for coming through tonight. We also want to thank our friends over at Podbean. You know, they've been so gracious to us for the whole season. And of course, we want to thank you, the listener. You know, you're out here just supporting us and everything, you know, making us all feel nice and everything, you know, giving us something to do on Sunday nights. You know, it's just proper, you know. So, of course, we want to say thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. We will be back with another episode, and we're going to be doing, like, say, our final, or we're going to be doing, like, say, a playoff primer for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to keep an eye on the Calder Cup and the mess that it is, and we're also going to keep an eye on, say, the P-Dub playoffs, as well as the road to the Memorial Cup. So keep your ears open for that. We will be back next week, and we will be gracing y'all with our presents. Until next time, as our boy Jason would say, make sure you drink your water and mind your business. And deuces.